Hello everyone! My name is Ian, the part-time Dungeon Master. Welcome. Today we're drawing a map. I'm showing you how I draw maps, and I actually normally use pen, but I'm using a mechanical pencil because I figured this time I'll do it right. And then the reason why I say I normally use pen is because for some reason I tend to draw better when I'm using a pen versus just a normal pencil. And this is pretty much, I'm going to be trying as detailed as possible in a short amount of time. You might hear some music in the background. That's a stream of what is known as lo-fi music that I listen to help me study and also prepare things. So I apologize if you don't like that kind of music, but too bad, it's what I'm listening to. So what we're going to do is draw essentially a, let's start with like a coastline. So we're going to start up here and we're going to like make this line. And we're going to make it like this. We're going to make it like little indents and such going on because from what I understand, there's no such thing as a perfect line in nature. It just doesn't exist. There's always going to be like imperfections and cracks and divots and so on. But we're going to make this coastline. You know, put a little few islands out. Because even in Georgia, where I live, the southern state of Georgia, fix this one. In the southern state of Georgia, there are islands on the coast, and they're not very big. So we're just going to put a few here and there. Kind of like they're large chunks of land that have broken off from the mainland. They're not very far from the mainland either, so. But yeah, you know, I've been meaning to do a video like this for a while, you know, showing the process in which I draw maps. I do it as, I guess, a thing of boredom. I learned how to do it for the most part. I'm not a great artist or, you know, great cartographer, but I know how to do it well enough to where I can get away with it. And we're going to just put like a couple of smaller rocks here and there. This is a coastline that has like a lot of smaller islands. Not even like big islands. Like you could probably fit like a lighthouse on each of these. So. Yeah, there we go. We got a coastline and a bunch of islands going across the coastline. Just kind of like, you know, the sea has reclaimed parts of the land. Because here's the thing about the land masses and water. If this is our ocean, what's called the Andalusian Sea. When it comes to water and land masses, essentially water flows from in to out. It flows from the highest elevation to the lowest elevation, and that's the reason why we get lakes and rivers. You know, lakes and rivers never flow inwards; they flow outwards. And Georgia itself has large amounts of swamplands because, you know, if it rains enough, the water gets trapped there. And then if the sea levels raise high enough, large, you know, amounts of our coastline are just going to go straight under. So, you know, that's the thing. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to draw some mountains. Why we're going to draw some mountains? Well, because mountains are actually pretty important. They are when tectonic plates kind of like push together and they kind of jut up. Not to mention, when it comes to mountains and hills, which are, you know, both side effects of these tectonic plates pushing together, they create kind of like a spine, like through the land. So you can kind of like follow where the land smashed together. So we're just going to start, say, right here. We're going to put a mountain. Remember, if you're following along and drawing your own, you don't have to make yours as perfect as mine, or even in the same, you know, general idea. But I don't like the idea of just like a straight that for a mountain. It doesn't seem like it's, you know, done right. Now, this is the reason why I don't like doing these in pencils, because I don't like erasing. I like doing it right the first time. So I'm hoping you guys can see this well enough, and I'm going to be going back over it with with a darker pencil. But for the most part, we're just going to put some mountains. And we're going to follow a trail. So we want to go from, from up here down towards this way. So we're just going to go like this with the mountains. And if you follow me on Reddit, at times on the Dungeons and Dragons subreddit, on a number of them actually, I will post little maps that I've drawn, either out of boredom or someone asked me to, and I'll post them up there. There was one even I decided to put on a sticky note, a post-it note, and I posted it up there. And yeah, this is therapeutic to me. Like, I'm not that great of an artist, but I can do this, and it helps. I'm going to keep on with these mountains. I don't like that one. See, if this was in pen, I would just, go with it and, find some way of blending it in to where you wouldn't really notice that I made that mistake. But since this is pencil, I'm going to go ahead and just keep going with it. I guess the reason why I always like drawing in pen is because that way I'm a little bit more careful. I'm afraid of smudging and accidentally, creating a mistake that I can't fix. So I tend to be a lot more careful with my strokes and stuff. Alright. Let's put that there. And once we get the mountains down, we're going to make some rivers and lakes. So like I said, water flows from highest elevation to lowest elevation. Alright, so we got a nice trail of mountains here. Maybe put some smaller ones here and here. Like it's a whole mountain range. Like I said, yours don't have to look like mine. It's just how you want to best represent it. So here, we got a nice trail of mountains. So now we're going to do some rivers. And we're going to, put one right here. And it's going to flow out towards the ocean. And it's going to have these break spots where maybe there's like a hill here that's why it flows like that. Some hills. Those are awful looking hills. Let's try that again. And just so you know, no, I've not rehearsed any of this. This is purely me. There, some large hills. Represent that's a very hilly area. Alright, so we got one. Let's do some more. Let's do like this. Maybe bend that a little bit more. Alright. I'm going to put a lake right here. Let's put a smaller one right here. Maybe it like funnels down into an underground area, and it's just kind of like a big lake that slowly drains down and out into the ocean and in the underground. Alright. Let's put one more river. Let's make this a long one. To get down to here, it just breaks off. I'll try and like take a picture and like put a finished product up at the end of the video for you guys to see in full as to what I've drawn. And I know some of you are wondering, hey, and why haven't you, do this on the computer? The reason is because my hand drawing is awful, and getting used to using the pad and the tablet is even harder for me than I initially expected. So I do have one. It's old. I haven't really used it, but I do have it. So now that we've got this, let's my computer fan's going off. I put in a new GPU, and it likes being as cold as possible. Right now it's running at 26 Celsius because it's not really being used, but still nonetheless it's wanting to be colder than that for some reason. So now we're going to do some trees. I'll just put some squiggly circles to represent some trees. We put some more in like in these gapped areas to make it be more like a packed forest, or a very, thick forest. All right. Oh boy. And of course, I'm not naming any of this stuff because I kind of want it to be just like a map that you guys can then take and, I don't know, use for yourself, I guess. Or more of just to, like, inspire you as to how things should be. We're going to put a capital here, actually. This is going to be our marking for a capital. And this is going to be a marking for a stronghold. Like a city or a fort of some sort. Maybe there's like a path. I'll let you be the decider of that. So, put some more trees. And since there's hills right here, we're gonna, start putting some more hills as well. Put some more trees throughout. Alright. See? We've now got a good section so far. We're gonna, leave these open, kind of like when we color it in, we'll use a different color from here to make it like an open field. So maybe that's the farmlands that this capital uses. So we're gonna put some more trees down this way. Once again, I'm sorry if you can't really see it. Here, let me. That is what we got so far. But I can't really tell from where I am as to whether or not you can see it like this. And there's a bright light right here because this is the light I use when I'm doing anything. Even when I'm doing something like trying to make an epoxy resin dice. I'm doing that. It's like sitting over there. But I'm trying to make my own dice to see, can I do it? If so, what is it going to be like? I'm going to start putting the trees a little bit more out. As if to say, like over here is more grasslands. Alright. Now we'll put some more hills over here. You know, whenever I do it like this, it looks like two butts, and I can never get that on my head. But at the same time, you know, it's a hilly area, there's hills, but they're so close together, it just looks like two butt cheeks. I'm immature, what do you want from me? Alright. And you know, on this side of these mountains, we're going to have it as a desert, so we're just going to do some desert looking tiles or sections. Put some little sand dunes here and there. Some large ones because it's a large desert. You know, rivers will flow this way as well, but not very long ones. So the desert kind of takes them over. So we're going to put like just a couple, you know, they're like little oases on the edge of the desert. And that's a good representation so far as to what we want. So now we're going to color it. First thing I like to do, take a black and mark, essentially outline and fill. Well, I'll just show you because I'm not good with words. So we're going to essentially do what my friend Krista McGee, also known as Spoiled Chestnut on Twitch and Twitter, is inking. We're inking the lines to make them stand out more. We want them to stand out more because when we start adding color, we want these lines to be more, you know, detailed. Like, you know, no matter what the color is, you can see that's a mountain. That's a mountain. That's a mountain. That's mountains. That's an ugly mountain. I'm going to break it right there. And that's a mountain. So what's the story of this, you know, mapped area that I've drawn? Well, I don't got one. Maybe you could tell me. Maybe you down in the comments can tell me what's going on in this world, or this section of this world. Is there, you know, a reason why there's a stronghold here between the mountains? Was it, you know, created by a civilization long gone and now the nearby kingdom's just taken over it? Or perhaps it's part of the kingdom and they built it to prevent from raiders from the desert from showing up and, you know, trying to take over their water sources. You tell me. Some butts. It's a butt. It's a butt. It's a butt. Two shady cheeks of butts. I'm sorry, I'm immature. But that's part of being me, you know? Alright. So all of those are done. Now we just need to do the desert and then the coastline because we want the coastline also to be defined. You know, speaking of Krista McGee, she's got a Twitch where she does a lot of art commissions, where you can pay her to make like Twitch emotes and other things for you. And she suggested to me that I start doing battle maps, you know, for people to use for like D&D, in the sense like, oh hey, you know, we're fighting in a jungle area, so how would you draw a jungle that would fit on a grid? I was like, well, crap. That's a good question. I do not know. And I've actually been practicing in a sense, trying to get that right. Because I want, in order to, you know, make maps for people to use, I just don't know how. Or more of like, I don't really know how to draw certain things as of yet. And part of making maps is making something that everyone can recognize as, oh hey, it's this kind of area. Or oh hey, it's this world. You know, what kind of path is this? Is this a jungle path, a forest path, path through an open plains? Is it more of, I don't know. I'm not good with words. I ain't all that word smart. I ain't even smart. I'm just me. You know, just me. So my hair out of the way. I'm losing enough as is. I don't know why it keeps falling out. Alright. And we are almost done. You know what, I'm going to do around the lakes as well. And then that'll be it. Now we no longer need that one. Alright. So next we need to choose a pretty good blue. Because I want to color in these lakes first, as well as the rivers. Now, I'm not that good with eyes. I actually have something called poor color perception. As far as I can tell, these two are the blues that I want. At least I think this one's blue. It could be a purple. Like I said, I have poor color perception, which means some of the filament in my eyes that lets me see color is damaged. I'm actually missing part of the red filament in both eyes. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this one for rivers and lakes, and this one for the ocean. Actually, no, let's change that around. So we're going to use this one, the lighter one, for rivers and lakes. So that's one river. There we go. Oh boy. Oh boy. Now, some of you might be actual cartographers out there. If that's the case, you might be thinking, Ian, you are ass at this. And you would be correct. I am not a cartographer. I am not a professional. This is something I do that gives me joy and is fun to me. And sometimes I do it for friends or coworkers in order to essentially give life to a section of the world that they're trying to envision. I've never drawn a map based off of, Game of Thrones or anything like that. But one coworker, a friend of mine, she has a book that she's trying to write. And she was like, Ian, I heard you know how to do this. And she gave me this piece of paper, it's like a piece of notebook paper with a very, 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 very rough sketching of what she wanted. And I did my best to recreate it in my style, and she said she loved it, and that it was perfect. And she said it's been helping her with her writing, because it lets her envision more as to the way the world is laid out. And that's kind of what I want. Oh, this is the gray, by the way, that we're going to use for the mountains. I figured I'd just go ahead and just give them a light coloring. Let me take a second. I actually need to sharpen this, but I can't find my pencil sharpener. I either broke it and threw it away, or I misplaced it and I'll never see it again. Either way, I'll never see it again. If you like the style in which I'm doing this map, and by the way, this map is purely for my head. It's just random BS. If you like the style in which I do this, I'll be more than gladly to do a map for you. You just gotta tell me what you want, and I guess we can work out a price, I guess, because Krista told me is I shouldn't do something for free. I should find a way of making money from it, and I shouldn't be ashamed of trying to make money from it. But I hate asking people for money. So I'm just gonna hold it up so you can get a better look. I think I should turn it this way, because this is the way I've been looking at it. Alright. So the ocean is going to be the biggest one to color. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this darker one. Just go over the edge. Oh, I missed one. I missed a small little island. Right here. Oh boy. Now part of the reason why I'm doing this is to make sure that when I start coloring and everything else, I don't accidentally color over that line. And I stay kind of like in the lines that I've created. Because when it comes to all this over here, I could just, do like this and just go crazy. I'll probably mix in some of the lighter one with it. But for now, I want to make sure that I get around all of these, so that way they're kind of protected. And I'll figure out what I want to put on them later. Might actually put a lighthouse on one, or, something. But for now, let's just get them outlined. Kind of like a little barrier around them to, like, oh hey, don't color through here. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that once I finish this map and show you, you'll see kind of like how I go about things. And then I don't know, how much would I sell this for? I don't even know. I don't like the idea of selling them. But at the same time, I kind of like the idea. I don't know. Something about selling my work seems kind of selfish, but at the same time, artists do it all the time in order to survive. So I can't really say that, they're selfish for selling their work. No, they're fully justified in wanting money for the work that they do. You never ask an artist to do something, for exposure. That is a spit in the face. I've got a number of friends who are artists. One of them is a very good friend of mine. I know him as... I've always called him Briggs. His name is Michael. And for a while he went by William. But I've always called him Briggs. Because one, Briggs is a much cooler name, and it's his last name. So, but he goes by Graphite King, and he's an art teacher now. But he does these amazing pieces of art. I've actually got one of his... somewhere, but even as his friend, he wouldn't give me a discount, and he said if he gives one person a discount, then he has to justify giving other people discounts, and he's not doing that. And you know what? I can respect that. I missed these over here. And that's the thing. If you're willing to put in time and energy to create something, you want the money that you receive for that to be equal to the amount of energy and time you put into it. Okay, so greens. Let's go with, that should be good. So, I'm going to use you for these trees. This is another one I need to sharpen. You know what? I wonder if it would look better with this. It kind of looks better. Kind of looks better if I outline them first. I'm sorry for the moments where I kind of just stop talking, but I just kind of like keeping a string of consciousness is easy, but having it be vocalized is difficult. And the reason is because my mind is kind of like Grand Central Station on drugs. It's constantly going, thinking, and talking, like a noise, a white noise. And I've always been told, Ian, stop talking. Ian, you can't say that. You shouldn't say that, or other things like that. So vocalizing every bit of that is difficult for me. I also want to know the reason why I do this in pen instead of pencil, because then I don't have to use this. I really don't have to if I do it all in pen. I don't have to outline and ink it to make it look and stand out. Sorry, that's me irking. But yeah, what was I saying? I was talking about how I've always internalized a lot of things, because that constant word vomit that I used to do was always frowned upon. People liked it better when I was quiet and didn't talk. My teachers liked it better when we were quiet and didn't talk. They didn't like the idea of us talking. They didn't like the idea of us sharing ideas or doing things differently. If you're wondering what kind of school system I grew up in, not a very good one. I'm not kidding about that. Up until about I got into high school, my middle school had history books talking about how the South had a moral victory in the Civil War. Spoiler alert, they did not. You can be as stupid as you want about it, but the fact remains there was no moral victory, no moral high ground when it came to those things. So, but I grew up in that kind of part of the South. The part of the South that a lot of people make the stereotypical jokes about? That's where I live, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately is because I don't subscribe to their zealotry. I don't subscribe to their ideals and their blatant hate for other people. But that's just where I grew up from, and I always find it funny talking with other people, and they're like, "You don't sound Southern." I was like, "What? Do I sound educated?" They're like, "Well, yeah." It's like, well, not all Southerners are stupid. Not all of us are dumb. Not all of us want to sleep with their cousins or sisters. Just the weird ones. And unfortunately, it's a stereotype for a reason. I hate that so much. But it's because of those stereotypes, and it's because of comedians like Larry the Cable Guy, that it's become like, oh, this is what all Southerners must be like. And I'm like, no. Some of us actually value education. Some of us actually value other people, even if they're different. Like, I'm on the Swordfall D&D Discord. A very accepting place. It's an LGBTQ plus friendly server. You should definitely join if you're into D&D and other stuff, as well as, just having a cool place to hang out with other people who are like-minded and, generally awesome. And if my family, at least parts of my family, if they knew that I was on those servers and they were like, "Oh God, you're turning into one of them," I was like, "No, I'm just accepting of who they are." I'm weird to begin with, but just because I'm weird doesn't mean I cannot be accepting of people who are different than I am. I have friends who are, Islamic. I have friends, and by the way, when I say Islamic and Muslim, they are what is known as educated. They understand what their religion is about, and they understand that it's supposed to be about peace, not about hate. I have friends who are Jewish, and to those of you who are Jewish and watching this, shalom. But it's just learning to be accepting when you grow up in a place that is not. I love my parents very dearly, but I do not subscribe to the same zealotry that they and our neighbors subscribe to. My mom's not so bad. she's pretty accepting for the most part. But at the same time, it's still that... Well, she's not Southern, now that I think about it. She's actually from New York. She is from the ghetto parts of New York, the Bronx. Now I'm word vomiting about my personal life. I am sorry. I started word vomiting to try and get better at it, and then I started going on about my life and all that stuff, fun jazz. But you're not here for that. I'm sorry. You are here for how good this map is looking so far. And so far it's looking pretty good. I really need to find a pencil sharpener though. Hold on. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I really need to replace that blade. Use that thing for everything. That's better. But yeah. I am a very weird individual, but I am okay with being weird. I have accepted the fact that I am weird. I have accepted who I am, and you know, I'm quite happy with who I am. There's some other parts that I don't like, though, like the fact of living in the South. I don't really like that. I want to move, but I need money to move. But I don't know how to make enough money other than my full-time job, because I've got bills to pay. Got a kid to take care of, you know? So it's just, how do you do it? How do you become more than what you currently are? And the question, that's a question that bothers me. It's like, how do I do more? And it always comes down to, well, you need more money. Like, I want to do skits. I want to do like skits of essentially, you know, comedy, you know, jokes of like Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but also other things. Like I have in my mind these different sitcom ideas. So one is actually based off of my work. A couple others are, you know, just funny little shows that I want to run, but I can't because I have no money. No money, no actors, no place to do the shoot, no props, none of it. And it bothers me because it's like that to me is one of the greatest arts that I could possibly do, is be a director and a writer for a show and bring to life these characters that I see in my head and show them to all of you. Because the best I can do is writing, in the sense of I can write short stories, and I've been working on a book for a very long time. And I've actually put the book on hold for now because I've been doing the Suriskin campaign, which takes place in the same world as the book. And it's just, I don't know, finding a way to make money off of my idea doesn't really appeal to me, but at the same time I know I should do it because that would be a way of improving my life and also giving me the funds to essentially improve my craft and become better at pretty much everything else. But I'm just so stubborn. Alright, so that's done. Now we're going to take this lighter green. I'm just going to gently do this. And we're just going to essentially give some green to this land. Ooh. Gotta do this once again. For the love of God, someone buy me a pencil sharpener. Buy me a coffee. I need coffee. I think I need coffee more than anything else. That's better. Now it's not smudging them as much. One person suggested, it's like, oh, why don't you open a Patreon? And I was like, well, I don't like the idea of a Patreon because then I've got to put like reward things, and I don't know what to give people for Patreon. T-shirts? I have a few T-shirts, but I don't really see them as that great. Maps? Well, I suppose I could, but it'd be better if it was more of like, hey, you commission me for it. But again, even then, I wouldn't like that. So I don't know. Like I always had an idea. It's like, Ian, you're pretty good when it comes to reviewing video games if you just, put them into words correctly and think about how you say things. You could, start writing journalism for video games like everyone else and their mother. And, once you get big enough, you can cop out and sell your reviews like, a lot of video game journalist companies do. Either the journalists themselves sell it out or their editors sell them out. And it's like, we'll edit your review to make the game sound much more amazing than it really is. And if you're thinking that I'm shitting on a particular company, I might be. As far as who, I'm not saying. But that's an actual thing. And I know it's a thing because every now and then I go see a movie with some of my friends who are film critics. I will not say their names or the company that they work for reasons, but what I can tell you is that they've, told me before in the sense that they once wrote a review for a film that was awful. Like, the film itself was bad. Like, I saw it with them, I was like, man, that was a bad movie. And they're like, yeah. And they wrote the original script for the review where they crapped on the movie because they were like, it's just bad. The plot is terrible. The action scenes leave you feeling uninterested versus actually being invested. And so on. And then their editor took that and spun it and changed it to where it sounded like the movie was good. And the reason was, well, because someone in the marketing of the movie paid the editor a large sum of money to essentially change it and make it sound better than what it actually was. This is the progress, by the way. Don't mind me, that's just me bumping into my desk and everything every time I stand up. But yeah. So the idea of like, oh hey, I could sell my reviews was great, except for the fact that like, oh hey, I have to sell part of my integrity too. Never mind, I don't like that. Alright, all is left is this desert, and then some other less. Oh my god, how many of these do I have to sharpen? That blade is dull. I need to get a new one. Alright, so now we're going to take this color and we're going to just lightly go over this desert. Just ever so lightly. There we go. Alright. Now all that's left is the sea. Now, while we're here, Andolin Sea, and we're going to put a rose compass, or just a compass in general. There we go. So we know which way is north. I'm going to color this in. Well, it looks like we are almost done. There's just a few final details that I want to do, but then we will be done with our map. What a journey this has been. I'm no Bob Ross. I don't have that sweet fro and that, you know, sweet voice that just kind of like lulls you into comfort. I'm no Bob Ross. But I do know the joys of art. Art helps me relax. Even though I do paint every now and then, I'm not very good at painting in general. I still do it because, like I said, it helps me relax. It helps me find that bit of peace in my life, and especially during when I have moments of really bad insomnia where I can't sleep. So I'll be up and I'll be painting or something, and it helps ease my soul to where I can at least try and find peace and lull myself into sleep, because otherwise I'm just going to be there, you know, losing my mind because I can't sleep. Alright, so these islands. We need to color these islands. What should we use? What should we use? Let's use this. Let's use this brown. How does this brown look? Let's make a couple of the smaller ones brown. We want the smaller ones brown. Let's make you brown as well. That way it's more like, you know, kind of like a sand duney kind of island that's popped out. And then we're going to take this green back. I'm going to put a little pressure on it, so that way it darkens a little bit. And now we have a finished map. This is the eastern coastline that hugs against the Andolin Sea. Isn't that nice? I'll put a much better picture up on the screen. And once again, you know, if you want to have me draw one for you, by all means, let me know. We'll work something out. But this is essentially my process for drawing a local map, you know, where you can kind of tell, okay, there's a major city up here. We can put a couple of smaller towns down here, and it's more of like this local area on this side of the mountains. Anyways, my name is Ian, the Part-Time Dungeon Master. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next D20 Sundays. Bye-bye.